With already having some basic forms on our website, like our homepage form, and hopefully they're functioning well for you, we could kind of start testing and playing around with some other sign-up form types that could maybe draw some attention to our form and help encourage more sign-ups for our lead magnet for people who make it there. So we're going to create and test using a pop-up or an exit form, or really any other type of form type you wanted to try this time. So pop-up forms, we all have experienced them. Maybe they're slightly controversial. Maybe some of you have strong feelings about how much you dislike pop-up forms, but the truth is that they work. It's been tested time and time again by tons of different organizations. They do get more signups. I know they could feel annoying or obtrusive perhaps, but they do work. And so there's some options with the way that you can set up your pop-up, and I will leave that to your personal preference. For example, if you want the background to be grayed out when they pop up, or after how many seconds it should appear, things like that. But the point is that you should just try doing some testing. Try out some other methods to try and gain people's attention to your form. And you'll be able to see, hopefully, that probably your, more, interesting form, maybe it's a pop-up or an exit intent form, is going to get more signups than your static form when you start checking out your statistics. But with all of that said, a bad use, of a Lightbox or Popover, or the websites where you go to and you see a pop-up or a Lightbox appear every time you go to any page, time and time again. And it starts to feel like, you're going crazy because you just keep seeing the same form and you can't escape it. You don't want to do that. You only want to do it, show it to someone once. And if they visit that page again, let's say in the next 30 days or something, they won't see it for, another 30 days. And you give them a few seconds to scroll through your page maybe before it comes up. And so I'll show you how to set up some of those settings. You basically don't want to just be overly annoying and really trying to bother people. It's just meant to say, take a look at this just so you don't miss it. And so some of the best practices we can try and keep in mind, maybe they won't see it until they've been on your site for maybe 20 seconds or so. We're not going to show it every time someone signs up to your website. Maybe every few days, every 20 days, 10 days, you can kind of think about it, how you'd like it to be, and not putting it on necessarily every page of your website. It should be applicable, to the page they're on, why they're seeing it. And there's lots of ways that you can try to make it less invasive and, think about exactly what pages you put it on and how. But you should be able to really start thinking about it, and based on maybe some tests and also through thinking about it, the selection, the type of form, exit intent, pop-up, lightbox, scroll, fixed bar, these are all some options I'll show you. The timing, how often and when will it appear, and the behavior. Will it, shake? Will it slide? Will it come up, after how many visits to the page? You need to think about that. And so, again, selection, the type of form, pop-up, lightbox, exit intent, timing, immediately when they visit the page, 10, 15, 20 seconds after, the behavior, how it's going to come in. And so to really test and understand the selection or the type of form to try and where to place it, eventually, if you're really interested in this, you could try and conduct a Heatmap test. Find the areas that get the most clicks on your website, and then choose the best 2 to 3 methods around them to try. And you could play around with your timing and behavior and watch how your results change. But of course, you'll really know success if you've got your static form and also this, kind of more, eye-catching form, and just start seeing, how many signups you get from this form, how many from this one, and you'll be able to see, what's working. And here's a, funny get response exit intent pop-up that maybe some of you have seen. It's pretty funny. So the exit intent is simply a type of a pop-up form. It's like the others I've mentioned, but it's pretty interesting. It's a simple pop-up or a light box, but it comes on, essentially it uses JavaScript and the web browser to track the movements of a user. So whenever it looks as though they are going to exit the site, a special offer or opt-in form can be displayed whenever it shows signs of leaving your website. So the technology itself isn't really complicated. It's more so how you use it. And there are some best practices to consider. Before you implement an exit intent form, you need to think about, they were actually leaving your site. So you need to acknowledge that and think about maybe why they were leaving, because that's going to greatly affect the message and the CTA that you actually put on the form. So the CTA is really an important part, and the more targeted it can be, the better. But you may want to also think about some reasons why people would leave your site in the first place. For example, they were done reading a post, an article on your site, and they were ready to go. You may want to think about a way to frame that. Maybe your content wasn't relevant to them in the first place, and they were like, saw it for a second, and then that wasn't actually what they were looking for. Maybe they couldn't find something they were looking for. Maybe, if they were looking at your products, it was too expensive, or maybe they just simply got distracted, forgot what they were doing, and left your page. Maybe they were just researching. They've been to several different sites like yours, or, your product doesn't do what they need. Just think about, if you're going to implement an exit pop-up form, why, and why someone would be leaving this particular page, in a way to frame your message or CTA there as well, so that you could try and use your, exit form to try and re-engage them to come back and actually be intrigued to leave their email address. So we're going to see it in your GetResponse account, and also I'll show you my example for how I can add it to my WordPress shop. So it's going to be pretty similar to what we did when we added the form to the home page. But I'm going to show you the different cool options you have in your GetResponse account for the forms, and then what it looks like whenever I implemented it onto my site. And so this is the one I'm going to be using. It's going to be the shake box, but I'll do create form just to show you the options you have. And I've showed you this before, but it's called the List Builder Apps. And so the download box is where someone can simply download something from the form. The sign up box, you can see it shows you an example, what it would look like on the page. Quite simple, quite basic, but it tells you, basically this is a simple pop-up form. This is very simple, no extra bells and whistles. The background, should it be light, dark? This is the simple, essential pop-up or light box form you've seen. The shake box is the one that I'm going to try. So basically it just shakes. Maybe it'd be a little bit annoying, but I'm going to try it. I think it's actually not that bad. It just basically does this just to get the attention whenever it pops up. Fixed bar, so it stays fixed on the page. Exit pop-up is that exit intent. An image box specifically. So it just has a featured image on it as well, which you may want to do. For example, this is where you could put an image of your ebook cover, for example. This would be a good option for that. Or a scroll form, meaning it shows up whenever someone has scrolled down to a particular level on your page. So you can see, it should display on the middle right, and slide in, for example. So these are all the options that you have. And so if you click on the name, you'll be able to see a preview of it. But I'm going to show you the form I have, just a little sample form. So my homepage shake, so I can view it online, for example, and show you how it looks. So just like that, I just had my logo, the CTA about what it is. I just included one form in this example, download now. And if they click no thanks, this is how it will take the form off of the page. So this is what I'm going to use. This is my pop-up I'm going to try on my home page. And so in WordPress, I've got my pages. And remember, you can, just use your WordPress integration. However you were able to add your homepage form, you can do it in a similar way. So it's going to be on my home page. And this is where I had right here, remember, through this GR web form integration field that should be here, this is my static form that I'm going to leave there always. And this is that homepage shake form that I added. So remember, you just drop it down and you can find, and then here it is, homepage shake. This is the one I added. And so this is where they are. So I'm going to always keep the static form on my homepage, and also be able to keep this one here as well. So I'll show you what that looks like. So, because I've been testing it, I opened it up in an incognito window because it would be able to tell that I recently visited the page, and based on my settings, it's not going to show it again. So I'm going to open it up here, my blog, scroll down a bit. I've got the static form, and then it should be popping up. There it is. I had a slight delay. So this is what it would be like, which is pretty cool. I think it's neat. Download our free directory, learn everything you need to know, email address, download. If they don't want to sign up, they can just click this and go back. But then it is still having my static form as well. And then based on the settings that I had, actually in my site here, in my settings for my form, I'll show you it again. That's how, I included that delay for when it should be shown. Because the background should go dark, it did that. We had to wait 5 seconds for it to show up. And for example, 90 days, or I could do it, let's say 7 days. And so now, if I visited my blog page from this same browser without clearing my cache or cookies, within 7 days, it won't appear. But if I clear my cache and cookies, or I opened an incognito window in my browser, it showed up again. So if you're testing it, keep that in mind. If like you tested it and it worked, and then you went back to your blog, for example, and it's not going to show, you refresh, you scroll around, the pop-up won't come up because it's set up that way. But if you cleared your cache and cookies or open an incognito browser like I did, it would show up. So that's the way it works, is how the frequency can be determined to not keep showing it to someone who comes to your homepage every day for some reason of your blog. But if you want it to happen, you can, edit it that way to always come up. But I think a week. So if someone comes to my homepage for my blog and they see the pop-up and they don't sign up, then, they come back a week later, it could come back up. So this is pretty straightforward. It's basically just creating the form how you want to. I just edited this as you do for your regular forms as well. And then through the integration, the WordPress integration, add it in. But again, if you're not using WordPress, you're using JavaScript or a different integration, you'll be able to do just the same thing. I was just using the GR web form integration here to be able to add this to my homepage. So just go ahead and give it a try, test it out, because I've still got my static form, and I also have that pop-up I can try with. So we can just see how we start performing. And don't forget to set up the settings for your web form as you did in the previous one, to make sure it goes to the proper list, and they add your contacts to the autoresponder cycle. So that's something as well. Make sure you do everything as you did previously, and make sure your settings and everything are set up in the form that you need to. So get that set up. That'll be really cool to start seeing if you get some more signups with that type of form, trying out the different settings you have there. And check out the PDF download, which are some pop-up best practices so you can make sure you stay on the right track with this type of form. In our next lesson, we're going to be talking about producing video marketing content for social media. So stay tuned for that.